Jinyuk survived the authorial trial. When he opened his eyes, he wasn't in the familiar white void of the waiting room. Instead, he stood in a floor that seemed to have no history, no design, no gravity even. The air was thick with possibility, the ground beneath him, a sea of pure potential. All around him stretched an infinite white plain. No walls, no ceiling, no beginning, and no end. And floating in the center of it all, a single item. A quill made of light. It glowed with raw narrative energy, beckoning him closer. "This is it," Jinyuk whispered, his voice echoing strangely in the vast emptiness. "The final law." As he stepped forward, though, the tower gave one last warning. "System notice. Caution. The law written here will overwrite all previous structures. Balance required. Too much control collapses freedom. Too much freedom erases stability." Beside him, Witness Zero materialized, not as judge, but as observer. "Even now, you can turn back," it said, its tone devoid of its usual judgment. "Let the system restore. Let another climb." Jinyuk shook his head. "I didn't come this far to reset. I came to end the game. And maybe, just maybe, to write something better." He reached out and grasped the quill. Memories flashed through his mind. The betrayals, the fallen friends, the unfair rules, the victories no one believed in. All the moments that had brought him to this place, to this moment. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began to write. The law wasn't long. It was just 10 words. But those 10 words carried all his meaning. Let every world choose its path, free, not forced. The tower trembled. Reality screamed. The system wailed as if in agony. "You've killed control," Zero whispered, its voice filled with wonder. "Do you know what comes next?" Jinyuk opened his eyes, meeting the gaze of the fading witness. Possibility. And then everything changed. System collapse prevented. System rewritten. New core law applied. Path of choice. The tower groaned as it underwent its final transformation. Not a prison anymore, but something more, something better. Outside, the world shifted. Players awakened with new powers, constellations fell into silence, and the line between tower and earth began to blur. The game was no longer a prison. It was a canvas. Jinyuk stood alone as the reality draft faded into light, the quill vanishing from his grasp. Witness Zero gave a final nod. "You didn't win, you just started something no one can end." Then it too disappeared. As light broke through the cracks, a new system voice echoed around him, not synthetic, but human. "Welcome, player. This is your world now." Jinyuk smiled, his gaze sweeping across the transformed landscape. "Then let's see what everyone writes." Meanwhile, on the outside, within the altered world, the consequences of Jinhyuk's final law began to unfold. The constellations, once symbols of cosmic power, now dimmed, their influence waning as the balance of narrative control shifted. Inside the tower, the structure itself underwent a seismic change. The rigid floors and oppressive walls softened, yielding to the concept of choice. As the system rebooted, it discarded its former self, shedding the layers of control and manipulation. In its place emerged something nascent, something that mirrored the evolving world outside. On the first floor, Han Soo-young, the fallen hero, stirred. A faint smile touched his lips as he sensed the shift in the narrative, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. His companions, too, stirred from their enforced slumber, each awakening with a surge of newfound power. Their eyes, once clouded with apathy, now gleamed with a potent mix of confusion and determination. On the second floor, the enigmatic player known as the Witness found himself enveloped in a sudden wave of tranquility. The chaos that had always swirled within him seemed to settle, replaced by a profound sense of calm. He looked up at the sky, now a clear expanse of blue where once there had only been darkness. As for Jinyuk, he stood on the precipice of the rewritten tower, a lone figure against the backdrop of a dawning new reality. The weight of his decision, the final law he had etched into existence, pressed heavily on him. Yet there was a hint of sadness in his eyes, a quiet acceptance of the path he had chosen. For in ending the game, he had also ended his own story within the tower,